first featured speaker.
Sure.
Yay! Yes, look, you can see whatever. So, and I'm going to archive, and hopefully if I need to edit these, I will. But I would just like to get more of our speakers a bigger platform if people can't make it in person. A lot of our youth do like to watch things online now, and they will watch YouTube for hours, but it can be hard pressed sometimes to come out and come to events. So we are now live streaming. This is our January 9th, 2026 meeting.
12.
Oh, 12th. It was December 9th last month. See, I've got to get caught up with the new year. I'm going to let you take the floor. This has a, yes, there's a, do I need to turn these down or anything?
Ooh. Fancy. People are going to fall asleep on me now.
Oh, is that too? Okay.
There, that's perfect.
Love to hear all about the work you've been doing.
Will you fix your heater?
Finagle this a little bit. And do you put it in or out? Let's just make it go up. People doing it. Let's put more stuff underneath
The
it.
tissue box, so if you want to grab a oh, there's books too.
That'll be too much. No, perfect.
Oh, well, no, that's too slippery.
Oh, that just kind of works.
There we go.
Is that working?
Yes. That's awesome.
All right. Stan Gerdes, your state representative. Fun fact, myself and all the staff that I have in the office, including Braden here, are all young Republicans, which is kind of an interesting deal to have young folks that are engaged and knowledgeable. And we've put together a great team in our Capitol office and also on our campaign arm. So we have great individuals that have been with us for quite a while. Some of them since we got into the Texas House, and some of them started on our first campaign. So anyway, with that, let's. We're the only candidate in this race that is endorsed by our wonderful President Trump, our great governor, and then also Ted Cruz. So that's some pretty big endorsements. We have a lot more endorsements. Actually, we received a whole lot of endorsements today from the DPS organization, Texas Alliance for Life, and Farm Bureau, and so on and so forth. So we'll be rolling those out in due time. Yeah.
Can I make a motion to endorse Stan because he's a YR and you can only endorse YRs in the primary?
True. I think he's skateboarding. Yeah. I feel like we looked at this. There was some little things.
Well, which is nice.
You got our heart.
I appreciate that. He tried. So just kind of high level coming out of this last session, we passed. By passed means we had not just passed out of the Texas House, but we passed and got signed into law 27 bills, which put us in the top 10 in the Texas House of getting bills signed into law, which is a pretty big accomplishment just coming out of our sophomore term. I was appointed to the House Calendars Committee, which controls which bills come to the floor and which don't, and all that's a pretty powerful committee. I was back on energy resources, and then this session I was on licensing and administrative procedures, which covers everything from anything that has to do with licensing in the state, the lottery, alcohol, and all of those types of issues. So that was a really fun committee to be on. Coming out of this session, Chairman Darby on the Energy Committee, we put together a energy subcommittee on underground facility safety, and he named me chairman of that committee. That committee is we've held our first hearing, and we will pick it back up after the primary. But what it is looking at the issues with was called underground facility safety. And how I got down that rabbit hole was representing a rural district, all the development and growth. And Judge, you've probably seen this too about these different water lines getting hit when folks are excavating under in the right of ways and so forth. The water lines aren't in the 811 call before you dig. It's called a one call, but it's not a true one call. And so looking at this in a very simple way, I said, well, if we're gonna have one call, then we need to, I didn't know the water lines weren't included in that. I said, we need to put all this together. So when you call before you dig, they can come out and mark everything. Well, the problem with that is a lot of the rural areas and the cities don't exactly know where all their water lines are. So it is and we caught a little bit of heat from some of the groups around and some of the big industry types. And so we haven't stopped. But there's a lot of moving parts in this deal that we're bringing the folks from both sides to see if we can come to some sort of compromise. And then reappointed to the Energy Council, which is legislative members from all the energy producing states in 3 provinces in Canada. And we meet about 3 or 4 times a year around the country and talk about different ideas and issues and that sort of thing. It's in a kind of a collaborative environment. I was one of only 7 lawmakers awarded the Lone Star Health Champion Award. That was from our work on the prohibiting sodas, sweetened drinks, and candy and the SNAP benefits.
That's one.
And then the Legislative Champion Award by the Associated Builders and Contractors, and then the TCC Conservative Coalition on the Courageous Conservative Award from 88th and 89th legislative session. There was over 9,000 bills filed this past session. I think a little over 1,100 of them made it into law. We'd be here for a few days if we're going to talk about them. I'm going to kind of talk about some of the things that our office and our team worked on and what we got done. One of them was a priority bill, HB 119, which was first in the nation to cut off foreign adversary lobbying. And their influence into, the lobbying that goes on here in the state. So that we caught, there was some special interest that tried to fight us on that. And we didn't budge at all. Braden was a part of those talks and there wasn't really much talking on our side. It was just, we're moving ahead with what we've got here. And we worked with some really smart folks to get that piece of legislation crafted. So I was proud of that. We'll talk about this one in a little bit more detail. Stop the Slop in Lee County, which ended Travis County and Austin's ability to take what we call their slop and put it in the rural part of Lee County. Water legislation. HB,
is it referring to like compost?
The stuff that's in Austin, the scraps, the oils, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. HB 29 it holds big cities accountable for their water loss. And how we got into this was Burleson County. There's a lot of water being sucked up out of Burleson County and shipped to San Antonio. And that water system loses 21 billion gallons of water a year. And about 19 billion of it come from Burleson County. So yeah, that has my attention. We tried this bill in the first session, didn't get it done. We went back in the 89th. We got it done, and the speaker made it one of his priority bills because Houston loses more water than Fort Worth uses. I mean, the amount of water loss is just is insane. And when some of that water is coming out of our district, I want to do what we can to make folks say and these bigger cities have the resources to fix their problems. The rural water systems are a whole different ballgame.
Was there an effort to stop that pipeline from?
That was done before.
Yeah,
but I can tell you that the San Antonio, the Sauls folks aren't too. They don't like me too much because I've always seemed to got them in my target. You know what I mean? So and we had some other water legislation that was kind of niche for that. Well, it's statewide. But the ideas and the legislation ideas came from the Burleson County, Lee County area When you have the drawdown over in the Post Oak GCD that's affecting the folks in the Lost Pine GCD on the northeastern part of Lee County, you're in two different GCDs, but you can't mitigate across GCD boundaries. Well, now you can. It's signed into law where you can have interlocal agreements between these GCDs to help maintain well operability. So that was, that's not a big sexy bill, but it is a practical bill for some of the folks that I represent that are having these issues.
Wasn't there also for us here, in part of our county, they were going to store water from?
I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And then, we passed the hostile foreign nations, can't buy land. And we were looking through that bill and not being able to buy land and so forth. But we noticed that there wasn't anything about water rights in there. We did file a bill on it, but it eventually got rolled into the final bill that passed and was signed into law. So we didn't move that bill, but the pieces that we wanted were put into that bill. So it was a win-win. This is a bill signing where the SB 379, which is the SNAP bill that I worked on with Mays Middleton, was signed into law with Secretary Kennedy, Speaker, the governor, and then Middleton and Hughes and myself up there. It was a real exciting time and a real honor to meet Secretary Kennedy. He is a just brilliant guy. Next. Grayson's Law, that October of 24, one of our constituents here in Bastrop County was hit head on by a drunk illegal alien. It was a Sunday afternoon, late, about 6:30. That guy who hit Grayson has been deported 2 times previously. And I knew Grayson. So it just makes you think, what can we do to stop this kind of heinous activity? I mean, we're doing what we can, trying to do what we can at the border. Trump obviously has done a great job so far, and our governor stepped up when Biden was asleep, so that was good. Anyway, so I made a promise to the Davis family that we were going to do what we could to get something done that we'll do something, but also with his name. And so shortly after he passed away, Donald Trump was coming to Austin to do the Joe Rogan podcast. So I called, now she's Secretary Rollins, and I told her the story, and she said, no problem. Within just a few minutes, she had somebody from the Trump campaign connect with me, and we set up a meeting for the Davis family to meet with Trump at the airport where he did the media, meeting that he had, and they got to meet him there, and it was great. The next picture is his family and friends. They came in and testified when I was laying that bill out in committee. So it was incredible for all those folks to travel up to the Capitol, be engaged in the process, and we kept in touch with their family throughout the whole way.
That's powerful testimony too.
It was.
Grayson was only 29.
Yeah.
He drives a great guy.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So is this just the bill is for illegal aliens?
No, yes. So if you
what happens with all the ones that are not illegal aliens that kill somebody as a drunk driver? Because our court.
So that's not yeah. Well, we have laws on the books for that already, right? And we also have laws on the books for illegal aliens, but they're still here. So what this bill did is it increased intoxication manslaughter from a second-degree felony to a first-degree felony if you're here under Chapter 51 and you have a prior alcohol conviction, which this guy did, and there are many others like him. And if you have, obviously, if you're here illegally, you have a behavior of such heinous activities, we want to make sure you're getting punishment. And what we found when we were doing our research on this bill is whether you're here legally or you're here illegally. The folks that have intoxication manslaughter charges have been getting let out of prison between 6.5 and 8 years. That's nuts. So with this one and the incorporating the Chapter 51, increasing it to a first-degree felony, the mandatory minimum is 10 years. No parole, no questions, no get out of jail free card, 10 years. If you're here illegally. We are trying to look at the folks that aren't here legally.
And this guy, like, he had DUIs, he was deported because of his DUIs.
Yeah.
He was just a mess. He had no
So,
business being on the street here at all. It was awful.
Next.
That's good work.
This was a fun one. I call this is a prohibition of cell cultured protein, AKA what we call lab grown meat. The folks that came out of the woodwork and the special interests that showed up in Austin on this one was quite the spectacle. You had the biotech billionaires out of California, which is what I call the funders of this kind of crazy printed liquid meat that you can drink through a straw. And my deal is, look, one, the folks that I represent don't want a fake chicken as a science experiment on their plate or a 3D printed steak. They want it coming from the pasture. And some of the folks that were behind trying to kill this bill was the Good Foods Institute, who are still in litigation with the state of Texas over the 88th session's truth in labeling laws, because they don't want you to know what's in this stuff. So we had a fun go around with that one. This was the one of the cattle raisers priority bills that I got to carry, and I was happy to do so. And when you're fighting folks on things that just, this one made sense to me, and for the life of me, I can't understand it. And also, too, let's look at the regulatory framework that our beef producers and all those folks have to abide by. There is no regulatory framework for something like this. So we need to figure out, if you are going to come do business in this state, you need to have an equal playing field. If you're going to be trying to come in and be in competition with our poultry folks or our beef producers, plain and simple.
Were they trying to sell it as, like, they would say it was beef? Or would they say this is
They didn't want to say it was
Does that make
anything.
sense?
They were just referring to it as protein.
It's protein.
They wanted
Protein.
to
Some of it's grown in this bioreactor on these lattices, and it's injected out and then put in these.
Like a human, or like a mammal. They were describing
Yeah.
using like sugar, like a mammal would create skin and getting it to it. It's an interesting thing, but I don't think really
Anyway,
eating it right away.
anyway, yeah, we'll
Cattle raisers anyway.
we'll see what happens with that. But for now, there is a prohibition on the sale of it, not on the research, not on development, not on any of that. Just sell to the consumers. Next.
Besides that, we should stick with beef, because that's what we're doing.
That's right. Ward doesn't want a fake steak.
I don't think I got it.
We all heard about Elgin, and I wish I could say we all knew what was going on out there, so I kind of want to know where. I mean, that's a lot of money. 10 million, even if 2 million, 5 million, that's a lot of money for a town. And so after hearing some of the outcry and watching the video of the mayor going, well, we're looking for it, we don't want to look back. If $500 went missing out of my bank account, my wife would want to know where it went. So we got in touch with the governor's office. Oh, sorry.
Keep you in the frame there.
We got in touch with the governor's office and wrote him a letter. And the next day, the Texas Rangers were deployed. And then I think that following week is when he enlisted with the Rangers, the comptroller's office. So that investigation's ongoing. And
Do you have any update?
that's no,
Were there any arrests?
it's ongoing. So this is just kind of one of this thing obviously happened at, this was in November, end of October, beginning of November, that we were working on this. Just things are always, the Office of State Representative is not January through May, every other year. It is every day, all year. Things happen, people have questions, and that's just the nature of the job, and we enjoy it. And we also enjoy public transparency and accountability when things like this arise. Water, you mentioned water. On the Austin's project to store their treated water in our aquifer. This has been a long time in the making to kill this project. It wasn't just the piece of legislation that we filed. It wasn't the 12 stakeholder roundtable meetings that we had. We've been meeting and talking, I wouldn't say working with, but talking with them on the clear understanding that ain't nobody want that here. Nobody. So it was a multi-year fight when Austin was not willing to come to the table. They didn't care what the judge had to say. They didn't care what the county commissioners had to say, and they darn sure didn't care what the constituents of this county or Lee County had to say, because they were looking somewhere in the Lost Pines GCD. We got them to agree that Lee County's out. I think they thought that, we'll tell you that Lee County's out, so maybe we can work with you on Bastrop. But we got Lee County out. So now what? We're focused on Bastrop. I showed up at an Austin water meeting, unexpected. I think that was a year and a half, 2 years ago. And because I had, Andy Weir had told me that he thinks they're going to give an update on the Austin ASR project. And so Ben and I show up. Well, there wasn't any update. So when they got to that part, there was no update. So I get up and I start walking out. Well, one of their government affairs ladies comes up behind me as I was about to get out, pull the door open to leave the building. She goes, "Oh, Representative Gerdes, I've been meaning to come talk to you and set up a meeting." And I said, "That's great." I said, "What are we going to meet about?" I said, "Do you have an update? Can you tell me where it is? Can you tell me anything that you haven't already told me?" "Well, no." And I said, I'm not meeting to meet. So we're done. And I turned around and walked out. That's bull. So we filed HB 1523 to prohibit this type of project from a municipality that resides outside of Bastrop County. When it started moving is when the Austins wanted to suddenly meet. So we brought the stakeholders from Bastrop County. They brought their stakeholders that they had, and we met in the Capitol because it's during session, things are busy. The mayor was there and all sorts of other, jabronis, and we went round and round. Then they started doing these field meetings out here, open houses. Well, I went to the one in Smithville. It was packed. Moved down the road. It was, I guess, probably September after they'd had some of these field meetings, open houses. And I met with some of the Austin lobby team, the city of Austin lobby team, and their government affairs. And they said, "Well, how many people have you talked to that, are wanting this thing?" And I said, "Let me ask you that question. How many people have y'all heard from that want this thing?" And she goes, "0." And I said, "Bingo. Nobody wants this." And I said, "Here's the problem. The messages that are getting sent from the constituents in Bastrop County, they're showing up at these open houses and talking to your minions that you have out here. That message is not percolating up. The mayor knows that nobody wants this. And who's left in between? The city council. They think everything's just hunky-dory because they're not getting relayed the real message." We finally made that. We finally got a clear delivered message to them, and it took a lot of just constant knocking heads. And I mean, we went on a social media campaign about this as well, and we wrote letters. Long story short, and go to the next one. Oh, towards the end, I show up at one of these meetings, and I was not very happy. And I won't say this, we're being recorded, but it wasn't at that meeting they decided that the project was going to be dead. But shortly thereafter, they pulled the plug on it, which is great. I'm not necessarily against ASR projects, but what I am against is when somebody comes into a county to try to do one of these, that the folks that live in the county don't have a vote, don't get to vote on the folks who have say in the project. That's a whole different ballgame.
It should be our decision,
It should be our decision. We should have control. The folks that live here should have control over, to be able to vote for them or whatnot, whether it's county commissioners or folks like that. But we don't want any of the Austin coming out here and having, they're playing in our aquifer. Next. Well, this is my boy.
Get me excited.
This one makes me happy, so happy.
I don't know how many meetings. Well, with the new leadership, we've had 2 or 3 meetings. With the old leadership, when this leadership just came in October, November of last year. With Darpro's previous leadership, 0. They didn't reach out. I don't even know if they knew where Darpro was or who I was or who the judge was or who anybody was. I didn't care. I'm not taking up for Darpro because it's a little too late on their end. But what they have done, and the judge and I were just talking about this, is they've invested more since October of last year in this place, and they're continuing to do so because I had a follow-up meeting before the end of the year with I guess it was the vice president who has a few different states. They're on the right track, but the stink has not stopped. And what's the goal? Stop the stink. So there are things going on that I'll just say there's some announcements to come later. There probably hasn't been a week gone by that TCQ in our office hadn't talked at some length, maybe the week of Christmas. But other than that,
And they
just
go-
because-
they go there on the hunt.
just because we're not posting about it every day doesn't mean we're not still working on things behind the scenes. I'll leave it at that. All right, next. Who loves excess taxes? No one. Well, I tell you who loves them is some of the Democrats, because they're the ones that were calling me everything but a good boy when I was trying to fight them. So
Protesting.
for the past 2 budget cycles, I've actually had to fight my hometown, Smithville. We've done it in Giddings, we've done it in Elgin, we've done it in Smithville. About lowering the tax rate. The state of Texas doesn't levy a tax, school district, your county, and your local city and the other local taxing entities. And so I show up and speak and talk about easy things that they can just cut out of the budget and maybe drop off a few pennies on the rate and help people save some money. And I don't like the excuse that we're blaming seniors on their homestead freezes for raising my taxes or your taxes. That's BS. So we had great success in Smithville the past 2 budget cycles, and other cities in this 5-county district. When they weren't raising their rate, they were reaching out saying, hey, we just want you to know we're not raising the rate. We're keeping it. I said, all right, good. You're not on my radar. Next. So when I was on city council in Smithville, they would give me the meeting packet and agendas Friday night for a Monday night meeting. I would spend all weekend studying if I have to, but boy, that's not what you signed up for. You want a little bit more time. And so I asked and asked, and I wasn't getting anywhere with our city manager. And the law on the books is the law on the books, 72 hours. That was it. I didn't get around to filing this bill the first session, but I filed it this past session. And what it did on the Open Meetings Act, changed it from 72 hours to 3 business days, which is a whole hell of a lot of difference. Business day is not a weekend, not a holiday. So if you post it on a Monday, that doesn't count as a day. You can post anytime on a Monday. The business day starts the next day. So it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You can have a meeting on Friday. To stop that kind of, I felt like there was a lot of things getting passed, not only the rural city councils, but the folks that live there too, because no one's paying attention over the weekend on what their city council is going to be doing on a Monday throughout the weekend. So we got that done. Austin had to cancel one of their budget meetings because they didn't adhere to the new law, which I thought that was just fantastic. And another thing that we got in there too is the taxpayer impact statement. So what that proposed tax hike or new tax rate for where you live, what it does to the average homeowner. So you can kind of gauge. So it's very simple for the folks to look at. I mean, budgets. No one really likes looking at a budget, but taxpayer impact statement is very clear. Next. Smithville, TxDOT, we had a little bit of a road snafu right before our tour of homes and airing of the quilts. We got wind of it on Sunday night and Monday morning, and it's in Smithville. So you're like, well, why didn't you know about it, Stan? I said, well, I saw the cloud of dust over Halloween, but I mean, I saw TxDOT. I mean, I use Fifth Street to go out to Bastrop. I don't use the loop every day. I just figured dust of the road, things are. But when one of the city council folks reached out to us, then it clicked. I was like, holy smokes, this
Well,
thing.
because he said it's done. We assumed
Yeah,
it
he
was
said
a
it was.
project.
He said, I think they're done.
Screw it up so bad.
Oh, it's a whole.
So TxDOT was the contractor on the TxDOT road because it was considered a road maintenance project and not like a new road. Well, when they came in, they laid down way too much old wore out gravel.
Yeah.
The seal was done in a way that obviously didn't work. I mean, there was just piles and piles of gravel and the dust. Holy smokes! I've never seen anything like
I
that.
had my car washed and I just turned the corner.
Yeah, so
And it was insane.
I was out here on the road with our local area engineer. And they said that project met TxDOT standard, and that's I think that picture was taken when I was pointing there. I said, we all know this is bullshit.
Yeah.
And I just said, look, we're going to rattle every cage until we get something figured out because this is not figured out.
I think even downtown was white powder.
Oh yeah, it was everywhere.
Same.
So after that meeting, it was about an hour later. They came back with what they said was she said was a fix, but they're going to go back and patch some of the road where you could see the milled road underneath. And I said, that's the whole freaking road.
Yeah.
So then I reached out to our district engineer. He has 11 counties, who's a great guy to work with. And I let him know my concerns. And he was at a conference in Fort Worth, Dallas or Fort Worth. And he said he'll be back and we can meet Thursday morning. I said, great. This is really important to me in my hometown. We're about to have our big tourist weekend. We like to show off our hometown.
Well, and you have a new barbecue place right there.
Oh, Bubby's Barbecue.
Bobby's Grill.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just white powder.
So and then after that was on Tuesday afternoon, and Tuesday late afternoon, I called the executive director, Mark of TxDOT, and I said, we got a situation and we need some help fast. So I ended up meeting with Tucker, not Thursday morning, but Wednesday. And by the time we met Wednesday at 1:00, there was already asphalt paving equipment staged at the end of Loop 230 in Smithville. Long story short, we made record time. They started pouring the hot asphalt on Thursday morning at 6:30. And Thursday morning, they worked all night and got it finished by about lunchtime on Friday. And 10 lane miles. And now we've got what I call the big, new, beautiful loop.
It's so nice too.
It was, and it was finished just in time for our big tourist weekend. And I mean, going from an old mill road to hot asphalt, that's pretty good. So anyway, they made it right, but the road how we got there was pretty bumpy. Yeah. All right, next. Stop the slop. I'm hitting on this real quick. So Austin is the only municipality in the state of Texas that has a URO. URO is a universal recycling ordinance. That means you, sir, are going to be mandated to recycle all of your stuff that you don't eat, your oils and yada, yada. And where is the cheapest place to take all that slop? Probably to a rural area. Well, not anymore. Because Lee County, there's a judge and some of the folks that we banded together for the citizens group out there. We got a bill passed that says if the county of which the URO, that slop, the compost material, have to remain inside that county. Unless your commissioner's court of said county says, sure, bring that slop to our county. We want it. But that gives a little bit more local control and so that's not a bad thing. But not to mention the folks that were pushing this from the other side have a real bad track record with TCEQ anyway in Travis County. And, when you have a repetitive bad behavior like that, what makes you think they're all of a sudden going to be good players when they come to your neck of the woods? Next. Worked with Senator Colhorst on that one. There's a little news article on the Lexington Leader, and it was a big deal for the folks out there in Lee County, and we were just excited to get that one to the finish line. All right, Young Republicans, I got an office full of them. We're going to help get more folks involved in here in the Bastrop side of things. The grassroots efforts are a huge deal, and then campaign volunteering. I always we've got our social media messaging going out. You've been doing a great job on pushing messaging out for the Bastrop YRs. And pretty soon, he's the youngest young. Is there a group for them? For little three-year-old young Republicans? Next. And then we're doing a block walk January 31st. Governor Abbott is coming. He's going to do an event with us February 10th. The location on that is you'll find out once you RSVP. Volunteer at some of our polling locations. We have a really strong block walking program and volunteer efforts at our polls. We cover all the polls for early voting, and we cover pretty much all of them, the high ones, on election day, because that just balloons to, I think we have 60 some odd polling locations across 5 counties on election day. So if you're interested in helping us out on that, contact my boy Braden here, Braden at stangerdes.com. So that's just a quick snapshot. It wasn't quick, but on just some of the things that we've done on the local level. I mean, we have a whole bunch of other things that we've done, and that's just our second term. We're looking forward to getting back for a third term and continuing to make sure that the judge has what he needs to run the county.
Right.
So anyway, thank y'all for having me. Thanks, buddy.
That was a fast 2.5 hours.
Oh, well, turn on the other slideshow.
Well, that was awesome. That's really great to hear about everything. Does anyone have questions for Mr. Gerdes?
Okay, next session. What is your number one wish? Like to get accomplished?
Okay, you want another snack?
Here, come.
Well, we still got some things that I'd like to get done in the water space for this high capacity exports, which, the Chairman Harris is the chair of the Natural Resources Committee, and they had a hearing over the summer, and with that big high capacity export project with Kyle Bass going on in East Texas, and they're about 4-county region out there. One of them's covered by a GCD, one of them isn't. Talking about the rule of capture, which is, I think that would be a couple different sessions to work to massage that. But water's, obviously, we filed more bills we got more bills to the floor on water than anybody else in the Texas House. And we will continue our work on that. And it helps to have the folks who are really knowledgeable. I'm getting more knowledgeable, but locally, folks from Burleson County, Lee County, Bastrop County, who help us. And we are working together throughout the whole legislative process. We did that our first session. We did it last session. We will continue to do it because you want the folks who are experts in the field to be with you, to help. And, you're not trying to reinvent the wheel and go, when you surround yourself with good knowledgeable people. That's one of the things that we like to do.
I had a question. So if you wanted to propose law or legislature to your office, that you might, so say there's credit card services or offering of credit is not covered under the Texas DTPA. And I thought, well, that's an interesting loophole that they have. So they could be deceptive when extending a line of credit. That's odd. So if somebody wanted to propose legislation, how do they get in touch with you or whoever they need to, lawmakers, to do that?
Well, with our office, it just starts with setting up a meeting with us, calling us, an email, and
On
then,
Facebook messages,
yeah,
ideas of
and
legislation that happens.
and then through the interim, which we're in now, we kind of keep a list and who the contact information, and then as we move closer to session, we start working down that list, and that's where some of our 60 some odd bills that we filed last session came from. Well, a lot of them was folks reaching out to us, folks that we represent, and one of the fun parts about it is somebody, let's say you bring us a bill idea, and we work through the process, and then it gets signed into law, and having the person who brought it, and then that come into the bill signing about the law. I mean, that's a pretty cool process. Just starting as an idea and getting it signed into law, because the legislative process is really, I mean, when you're filing 9,000 to 10,000 bills in one session, and about hey bud, thank you. About 1,100 of them make it into law. I mean, you don't want every bill that's filed to pass. That's a fact. I mean, there are some crazy. Some of them are just show bills.
That was my proposed bill, and I have a poll. I've been polling on
Howdy.
credit card, the survey. I have 3 questions. I'm polling because I thought it was odd.
You come in?
Yeah, I was gonna come.
Yeah,
Yeah,
come on.
welcome.
Let me see, I'll stand up with him.
Oh, wait, not the chair.
Here, you can sit here. I've been sitting all day.
I love the focus on water infrastructure. I think it's critical. I'm curious your thoughts, just interactions in general with Aqua. Like the complaint I hear most from property owners is that, if they're, I've heard as much as just wanting to add in 1 meter, and they're using that to force the property owner to replace miles of the main, for hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. It seems to be a obstruction to, I think, some good, healthy development. I'm just curious what what's
Our interactions with Aqua, I mean, they were in our discussions on what I was referring to earlier in the underground facilities safety issues on the water lines. They don't want their water lines hit, rightfully so. I've heard, positive and negative on both sides. But about that specific type of issue, I haven't. But we would be more than happy to help if we can. And I don't know who they're talking to, but Aqua, obviously, they have some external folks that help them on some of their lobby efforts and government affairs, if you will. Commissioner Glass is on there as well out there, so he's a good resource.
We're thinking of having him in as a speaker, actually.
You should have all the commissioners in as speakers.
I'm a little sus of a lot of the anti-AI rhetoric, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts, because it's obviously going to be becoming a big issue with the data centers, things like that.
Well, so we look at it. One, we got to have generation. We got to have water. The technology nowadays, or is moving to, I believe one of the data centers going up in Milam County is going to have the closed loop, which I think that the judge up there told me it uses about 5 household, about what an average household uses, but 5 of those, instead of millions and millions of gallons of water, because water is, we don't want that. So you got to bring, some of these are bringing their own power generation, where they're building it on site this is generation and water. You got to put them in the right spot. Obviously, they want to be next to transmission lines. And it's a good tax base for the county. And all the counties that I represent need all the help they can get. So where are you at on them?
No, I mean, I'm generally pro technology development.
Mhm.
I think there are some legitimate concerns. I just see a lot of conflation between I think genuine concerns and there's like coming from the left, a very staunch, just anti-AI everything. And so I feel like I question how genuine, a lot of the environmental concerns are. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, obviously the left will have they have environmental concerns about me driving my pickup home.
Right.
Why wouldn't they go bonkers on an AI facility?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, invent some new species of frog that
Yeah.
we got to study before we can put a shovel in the ground. It's ridiculous.
We just defended a frog, so a company
Houston
cannot.
Toad?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A letter of demand, and the
So-
frog won.
I mean, we're pro business and pro bringing some good jobs here and having an economy that can support it. And Bastrop is the fastest growing, biggest county that I represent, and so we don't want to get in the way of stifling that type
I
of thing.
did hear there were going to be mini nuclear reactors coming to Bastrop County. Have you heard about that?
There's companies developing them.
Yeah, well,
I haven't heard.
yeah.
No,
The SMR.
You're talking about
Yeah,
SMRs. Now,
SMR.
there might be some development types, but we're still a few years out for the commercialization of SMRs. Now, I'm pro SMRs as it comes. I mean, that is clean, reliable, walk away safe, dispatchable energy that you can't argue with. And where we're headed, and I mean, it's a great solution,
Well,
So-
it has to do with the data center too, though, right?
Yeah.
I
Well, if they
think
get those to power them, you're going to be in business.
Yeah.
And
That's what
when that will be part of, when they're, there's a whole host of different companies that are developing them and that are in different stages, obviously with the permitting and all that with the feds. But we got to go out and tour what they're doing out in Abilene, which is for the kind of the research reactor. But Texas is why governor stood up the nuclear working group, is we want Texas to be the nuclear epicenter, not because we have the workforce. What else do we need to develop and have so we can make it easier to manufacture and have that stuff built right here in Texas? And there's other states competing for that.
I feel like we have a nuclear renaissance.
Oh, I mean, the administration, I did 3 years at the Department of Energy under Secretary Perry, and that was an incredible experience. And seeing what kind of technologies that our 17 national labs have under the Department of Energy is mind-blowing. There are things that I saw that we won't see for another few years in the commercial space, much less things that they're developing, because the Department of Energy oversees our nuclear arsenal. The military is just kind of the delivery system. But the administration we have now, with Chris Wright running the Department of Energy, and it's just the right players at the right time to make all this work. And they're putting an express lane in, so to say, on the nuclear renaissance, and it's a beautiful thing.
Does anyone else have questions for House Rep Stan Gerdes?
How are you?
What happened with Furry Bill?
All right, Bill, it didn't get out of committee. I guess too many folks were scared of kitty cats attacking them.
That we saw when it caught fire. It was so weird, and my kids were so disturbed. Like, Mom, what's going on? Why is there a giant cat thing? And I was like, I don't. They're like, you're gonna pass out. No.
I really appreciate it. I've seen it like spread in the
There was
culture.
a lot of
It's
pushback from
very
the public
unhealthy.
schools on that. That was a big.
There was a lot of phone calls.
It felt like it was like.
Well, here's the deal.
Targeting. kind of-
Here's the deal. Schools have dress codes. Enforce your dress code and you won't have cats running around your damn school.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The reason we filed the bill is because we have cats running around your school or raccoons that we got somebody reached out to us about for somewhere in Bastrop County. I'm not going to get into the school district. And the amount of folks from across the district. And I talked to kids. They're like, the parents would reach out to us and they'd let me talk to their kid on what they were experiencing in the public schools.
Yeah.
Leadership and accountability starts at the top, from superintendents down to your principals and school boards. Give your school the tools they already have. Wear normal clothes to school. You're not a cat. Don't think you are. You're not a dog.
I was in HEB and there was a lady and she actually was walking a girl that was dressed as a cat. And she had her on a collar.
In
and
Bastrop?
in HEB.
I don't know the dress code of HEB. I think it's no shoes, no service. But I don't know about cat collars. But anyway, yeah, that one caused a little bit of and rightfully so. I mean, it's an issue that it was like a taboo issue. Bullshit. There's kids in high school and this fetish behavior that starts building at a young age and only percolates and gets weirder as these folks get older. And if our tax dollars are going to these public schools, they don't need to be incubating that type of behavior, period. We should bring back letting the football coaches spank kids, that's what I'm talking about. So
How exactly did it die?
they didn't vote. They didn't have the votes to get it out of committee. So I worked it hard. It wasn't for lack of effort. So
And actually, in Jackman, Maine, where my mom's from.
yes, ma'am.
7